So Audi is finally ready to update its C-segment car. And for those of you who don't know what the letters mean, it means it's the A6. It's the mid-size. It's the one that often gets a bit overlooked. The A4 is more of the volume sedan, the A8 is the showy flagship sedan, and then the A6 just kind of exists. We're here in Northern California to sample Audi's 8th version of its C-segment vehicle. So when it comes to the A6, this has always been the more subtly styled vehicle. I don't want to use the word boring because that feels wrong, but with this newest A6, Audi, they put new fascias front and rear. They've got available 21-inch wheels if you want to go big baller on the sides. And then the lighting is a hallmark for this car. It's fitted with technology that is technically not legal yet in the United States, with its matrix LED headlamps and it's this crazy display, which I will show you in a window somewhere over here, but the rest of it is pretty standard A6. Under the hood, we have a 3-liter turbo 6 making 335 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, and it is backed up not by a ZF 8-speed, which you would think it would be. Instead, they decided to go with the dual-clutch 7-speed S-tronic, which adds to the slightly engaging nature of this. It has a great separation between its various select driving modes. In comfort, it is comfortable. This is a very nice, comfortable sedan. You put it into dynamic and it does stiffen up more than I would have expected. That was a nice bonus. There's an optional sport suspension which actually lowers and stiffens this car a bit. And then there's also an available adaptive damping suspension as well. And if you get that package, that includes dynamic all-wheel steering, which this car is not fitted with, but from what I've read about reviews in it and other models, it is pretty awesome. But we don't have that, so we can't test it. The engine itself is responsive. It gets up and goes. It's so responsive that I got a speeding ticket earlier today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yeah, that was good. Cop didn't have a very good sense of humor. I couldn't break the ice with him, but them's the breaks. When you're testing a car, sometimes that happens. Now, the big selling point for this, because like I said, C-segment cars, the 5 Series, the E-Class, this Audi A6, they're more middle of the ground. You're not the entry-level luxury buyer who's like, oh my God, I finally bought an Audi, and you're not the top-tier A8 guy who's like, look at me and my badass flagship sedan. So how do you sell on a car like this? Well, the driving dynamics are solid, but this also has some really nice tech inside. The wood is beautiful, the seats are comfortable, it has this dual screen display, and then you've got the next generation of Audi's MMI, and they really, really improved it. Before, you used to be able to write on a touchpad and it would go letter by letter and you would have to wait. It would recognize it and then move to the next letter. This one, you can actually just write it out and it goes. It has natural speech commands, so you don't have to say enter, destination, whatever. You just go, I want to go get ice cream, and it'll find an ice cream place for you, and you go from there. I don't know why I thought of ice cream, but sometimes you just want ice cream. Take your A6 to go get some ice cream. Don't judge me for wanting some goddamn ice cream. So style-wise, it's subtle, but it looks good. One of my favorite parts on the outside of the car is that it has subtle boxed fender flare. So I'm saying subtle. They're kind of there, and they're an ode to the old Quattro you know, the coupe, the cool Audi that you always wanted from the 80s and early 90s. It's kind of there. There's a really smartly styled shoulder line, so there's some good design language without going over the top. It has the single frame grille that you find in all the other Audi products now. It's wider, it's lower. Everything about the car is gonna be wider, lower, longer. That's what they do when they update these vehicles. Starting price of a base A6 is just under $60,000. Now, this is gonna share a lot of the same components with the new A7. There's some packaging options that are a little bit different, but it's the same engines. It's basically the same interior. Interestingly enough, 0 to 60 time with this 3-liter on the A6, it's 5.1 seconds, and on the A7, it's 5.2 seconds, and that's because the A7 is about 100 pounds heavier. So there you go. The A7 is slightly cooler, so there's the trade-off there, at least in terms of styling. And then one bonus the A7 gets is it is available with the also illegal laser head beams. At least I think they're illegal. I'm not 100% sure on that. I will find out because we're about to drive the A7 right now. And here we are in the A7. This is basically an A6 on the inside and under the skin, but it's the skin that separates this car. This is the one for those who are stylish and design-minded and prefer a little bit more of a look to their vehicle. And they get it with this one. The designer has gone on and on talking about, as they do, designers love to go on and on about the design aesthetics of a vehicle, and they should because it's their baby. The designer for this car talks about how 1/3 of it plays in the shadow and the other 2/3 of it play in the lights, and that has to do with the way the lines are cut into the shoulder and at all 4 wheels and on the tail. This still gets the very cool boat tail design. It has a slightly more aggressive front fascia than the A6, but it's very close. And then they managed to give it that same familiar A7 roofline on the prior generation car, but it doesn't have that weird hump like the first one did. There's more headroom in the back seat, which I will have to fact check because I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I will look it up. I think that's true. But from behind the wheel, it feels just the same as an A6. So there's no distinguishing it there. It's basically, you get to the showroom, you look at both cars, you drive either one of them. They drive basically the same, which is to say that they drive quite well for what it is. And then of course, you know, here at Hooniverse, we want the S6, S7, RS6, RS7, but as the entry-level version of those vehicles, this one is very competent, and it's hard to get mad at over 360 pound-feet of torque delivered through a dual-clutch gearbox. That's a good thing. You can take corners well with these wide, sticky tires, and go. But again, you walk to the dealership, the A7 gets you in the door of the dealership because it catches your eye, but it's the A6 that you're likely to go home with. The designers did a really great job of tying the A6 and the A7 together inside and out, but they also secretly tied in the A6, the A7 into the new A8. On the back of the A6, you'll find the taillights joined with a chrome strip. On the back of the A7, you'll find a full light bar. Now on the back of the A8, you'll find both. While I like the front and rear of the A6 and the front and profile of the A7, I'm still not 100% sold on the actual rear end of the A7. I think the original might have been a little bit better. But back to the A6 for a minute. It's a smartly designed car. In order for it to stand out, it has to have the good tech inside, and that goes with what Audi is saying about its future premium design focus and all that stuff, where what they're basically saying is that luxury used to be about showing off. Big ass wheels, shiny paint, matte finish paint, all this crazy stuff that said, look at me, look what I've got. Now, it's less about that. The styling has been pulled back and the in-your-faceness has been pulled back, and instead the luxury, the performance, and the tech have to work for you. How do they make your life better? And they do that with the natural voice commands, the easier to use infotainment system, wireless charging, wireless connectivity, to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The massaging seat function, the improved gas mileage even though the car is heavier and has a more powerful engine. Just the basic features that make your life better on a daily basis show you the inherent value, the more intrinsic value of the luxurious nature of a car like this. It is still an Audi though, and it is still a fun car to drive, especially on curvy roads like this. The steering is well tuned, the brakes are solid, they haul it down, the engine is responsive, and that dual clutch gearbox keeps you in the right gear. You don't really need to mess with the paddles in a car like this because it is not an S6, it is not an RS6, it's an A6, so 90% of the time it's gonna be comfortable and keep you happy, and then 10% of the time when you wanna wail on it, you can wail on it. Shut your mouth. No, it's fine. It's fine. We're all good. Just good. And no one wants to go at this intersection, so they're ruining up my timing here. But that's okay. Onward we go. Now, so here we are in the A7, and it's basically an A6 with a different skin suit. That sounds really weird.
Like Silence of the Lambs.
Right. The A7 gets you in the door, but it might just be the A6. Let me do that again without that giant fucking jump in the road. And then 10% of the time when you want to wail on it, you can wail on it. Get another fucking speeding ticket because you're an idiot.
It's for the people. You gotta give the people what they want.
Gotta give the people.